Alina, this book is something else. She's saying, she's saying that the things that, that stand out to you, the things that you want to repeat and all of these things into your life. Listen, everything
stands out.
So I break it down into portions that I can manage.
This really was transformative.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Book Club Conversation Series 6, where we're getting together to read the book The Uncommon Achiever by Mike Murdock. Launchpad Consultancy, in collaboration with VisionWorks Solutions, bring you this series. My name is Alina Lewis, and joining me for discussion this evening is Simone Nickham and Roel Rollocks. Hi, guys. Good evening.
Hi.
Super excited, as always, to have you in with us. We are back for another series, guys. So, I love to start off with the question that asks, what stood out to you the most in chapter 1? Because chapter 1 is all about distinguishing between what matters the most. And Mike Murdock really gave us a focus. So who's going to jump in and get started for us this evening? Simone, that means you have volunteered yourself one time. You have volunteered yourself. Talk to us, Simone.
So let me jump in. What stood out for me? He used the word decisiveness. And decisiveness to me talks about being planted in what you believe, and being intentional about it, and being focused. And it's a term that I use, especially when you're in the line, let's say at a fast food restaurant, and the menu is up there on the board. You're in the line, and the person ahead of you, when they reach by the counter, they're still thinking about what they want. And to me, that represents indecisiveness. So decisiveness stood out for me because it's about really being intentional and focused for you to go after that uncommon dream you have to become an uncommon achiever.
Let me ask you, Simone, that whole part about decisiveness, did it stand out to you because it is your strength or because it is a challenge for you?
I would say I would lean more on decide that it's my strength. I tend to premeditate certain things. I tend to plan. I tend to think ahead. If I have a plan to do something, Alina, rest assured, I also have a plan B just in case it doesn't work out. So I tend to be very decisive and intentional in doing things.
Yeah. Roel, what about you? What would have stood out the most for you in chapter 1?
Well, one of the themes I found, good evening, everyone, again, all those listening in. Always a pleasure to be here with you. I would say one of the things you find with a lot of Mike Murdock's writings would be this question about being intentional.
Yes.
Anytime you read anything about Mike Murdock, it's about you must be intentional, make thoughtful, well prepared, well put on paper, approaches to things. But one of the areas that he focused on as far as intentionality is concerned is the whole idea of reflection. One of the things in this particular chapter, he had to go through a reflection, which he asked someone, a consultant in this case, to help him with. But it was the way in which that was done, the way in which he did his reflection. It was well thought out. Sometimes we would say, I should reflect on this, I should meditate on this. But what is the methodology that we are using to do that reflection? And this reflection, the way in which he laid it out, he had some very specific questions he asked that would cause him to think about what excited him, what was important to him, what are those things that he will not change and keep reoccurring in his life. So I like the intentionality behind the reflection that jumped out at me.
Yeah, well, I want to stick with you for a minute. In the first chapter, Mike Murdock encourages us to develop decisiveness, to think about what we want, give it thought, invest the seed of time, contemplate, meditate. And it really stands out to me that you talk about how Mike Murdock, he had a coach. And I know that at Vision Work Solution, coaching is something that you're a huge proponent of, even as you encourage persons to seek out a coach, whether it's a business coach, finance coach, and so on. So I want to ask you, even as you consider the work that you do at Vision Work Solutions, for persons who are listening, what should they keep in mind when they're thinking about the possibility of having that coach?
I think the first thing to think about is think about high performers, think about high achievers, think about many individuals who would have achieved great goals in life. And you look behind their achievement, you would see a coach, you would see a mentor, you would see someone urging them on. So this is not just something for people having challenges, even persons who are doing well on their own. You see, the thing is, we live in our own heads very often. We live in our minds. And it's very important sometimes to be able to have that mirror, have someone, mirror those things that you are thinking so that you can get a real sense of where you are, where you're located. So a coach helps to locate you in reality. You understand?
Yeah,
I found that to be very helpful. So you'll find that even I have a coach. You understand?
right.
I have mentors. So coaching, from my perspective, is for everyone, particularly when it comes to helping you work through a lot of the things that are happening in your mind and make it real and make it practical and make it doable. This is where a coach comes in.
Yeah, and I want to chat with Simone next. And even before I ask Simone the question, for those viewing live, I really want to encourage you. Be sure to take a minute and like the video, because it really helps the program and it is able to support what we're doing. And if you think of anyone that can benefit from this program, I want to encourage you, make sure to share the link with them so they could tune in. And Simone, I want to ask you something similar, where looking at that same concept, we talk about developing decisiveness, and you mentioned it's your strength. And Mike Murdock, again, I'm repeating myself here, where he reminds us to think about what we want, to give it thought, invest that seed of time, contemplate and meditate. And I know every Monday you have an Ignite Your Week, Ignite Your Monday segment that you do on LinkedIn. And I want to
Yes.
ask you, how do you think people could ignite that ability to become decisive?
Great. So, where did my decisiveness come from? And just to quote Mike, he spoke about invest in that seed. My seed to becoming decisive started as a child when I was uncomfortable in my particular situation and environment. So it was a focal point for me. I focused on changing the narrative, right? I did not want certain environmental things that existed in my life at the time, where I saw there were a lot of limits. I didn't want that. So I was very focused in terms of getting to where I wanted to be to change that narrative. And Ignite Your Monday is it's like one of the fruits of that, where it's really encouraging persons, not just in the workplace. On a Monday, sometimes a lot of people go like, oh, Monday. But to me, it's like, wow, it's Monday. Let's light it up. Why wait till Friday and say, hey, Friday? No. So if you set the tone in your mind, Monday, you know what? This is going to be a great week. So it's about establishing what you want to achieve for the rest of the week. And as Roel mentioned earlier, it comes about part as reflection and part of what you want to do to reach a goal for yourself, because you yourself are a brand. So when you start on Monday and you go through Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, what do you want your brand to be focused on and speaking about, so that when Friday comes, you are still ignited, you as a person, but also your team members. So
I
I would
love
say
that.
reflection and focus are two good ways to start becoming decisive.
Yeah, definitely. I want to thank you for sharing that. And even as we continue on, we recognize that Mike Murdock, he also continued to say in the chapter, he asked some questions, and two questions that stood out to me is where he asked, do you have a personal list of goals and dreams? And have you taken time to write them out in detail? Because as we know, for a lot of people, that whole notion of write the vision and make it plain, people have a way of struggling with that. That we like to just think about it, we want to talk about it, but it's a struggle to get to that write it and make it plain. So I want to hand over, and even as we welcome Ingrid Hakim, so grateful that she was able to join in the conversation this evening. But Ingrid, or Mommy Ingrid, as I love to call her, I want to ask you, as we reflect on that part where Mike Murdock spoke about the importance of having that personal list of goals and dreams and taking time to write them down in detail. What does this mean for you as you consider your own journey in moving and working towards your own goals and so on?
Okay. Well, for the greater part of it, I never did that. I never, it's always in the head, it's always in the thinking, because I'm a person, I like to think and I like to talk and I like to do and I like to dream. And for a very, very long time, it was stuck there,
Yeah.
just thinking and just dreaming. And very recently, and I must say, and always give kudos to Elena Lewis, having several conversations with her and stuff like that, sharing dreams and sharing ideas. And I remember the last book club series. You have to excuse the traffic. Where I'm located, I have a lot of traffic behind me.
Sure.
Yeah. So sharing that dream, I was encouraged by Elena to do the very same thing, sit down, because I have this dream of, and I want to call it more or less, I guess, my God-given talent. I really, I like helping people. And at first, to me, I didn't understand where it came from. It's like you said, it's a magnet. I used to tell myself, well, I'm a magnet. I'm just attracted to all these people with problems. I'll be sitting by my lonesome and then somebody will just come up. But I think it's a personality. So, somebody says morning, I'm not the morning person. I'm the hi morning. And that opens a door for conversation. And, it took a very long time for me to understand myself and understand that's a gift that God gave me. And for a very long time, I wanted to put that gift into play. And I had all these ideas just in the head. And having that conversation with Elena, she said, don't just keep it in your head. Put pen to paper. Start writing. And I did. And it was just recently. It wasn't a long time ago. It was in the last couple of months or so. And I did put pen to paper. And when I started putting ideas down, they just kept flowing and flowing. And I'm there now. So I have all these ideas, And I reached out again to Elena and I said, here's what. I have some ideas. And I wrote it down. When you have a second, because, she never has a second. And but she made that second for me. And she went through it and she says, okay, Mommy Ingrid, so this is what I want you to do. And I needed somebody to help me put it into perspective. And she says, you know what? This what I'm reading is just, you're blowing me out here. It's totally great. But you're not telling me exactly what it is. Now, I have this, or what I want to call it, an organization for now. It's more or less like a lifeline forum. And I named it Pearls of Hope. And the idea behind it really is I have met so many women in my life, extremely strong women, weak women, confused women, hurt women, broken women, and, in different walks of life, from church, from school, from being a parent and so forth. And, I said, this is it. I wanted to create this haven where I will have as my core women, but not just strong women who have it together. Because my belief is, let's mix it up a little bit, right? So
Yes.
if we have a weak woman who, we have, like myself, I am floating because in some areas of my life, I'm very strong. Sometimes I come across, they tell me, you're too strong. And then there's some areas that I doubt myself. So that's my weakness. So I say, you know what, if we blend it, then a weaker woman, for whatever reason is her weakness, she will learn and she will grow and she will become from the stronger. And the stronger woman, sometimes we feel we have it too put together. So we in ourselves can be humbled, in that mix. But I did not know how to put all of that together. And I came in late. Apologies, I had some technical difficulties, but I came in and I'm hearing a conversation about coaching and mentoring. And that is really important because I needed somebody to coach me on how to put this together. And there she was, Elena, my coach. And she showed me. And when I went back and I thought, all this thing I wrote was so great. But it was, what it was really? It was a fantastic testimony of my life. And it really, really, when I read it over with the little critique, it really wasn't saying what I wanted to do. And it really is to reach out to women, to empower women, to help women. That was the general idea. But how am I going to do that? What am I going to do? What inspired these ideas? When I say empower, what you really mean? And that fantastic piece that I was so proud of did not say, but now it's here. And it hasn't been launched as yet. It's still a masterpiece in the making. But I have crossed that bridge with the help of someone else.
Yes, I love that. And what you're saying there, Mommy Ingrid, really complements the entire conversation so far, where we had Roll talk about the importance of coaching, Simone talking about the importance of staying ignited, and you showing through your own journey and building pulls of hope how writing the vision, making it plain, writing down those goals can really take you from having a desire to being able to action it. I want to do a rapid fire with you guys. And the rapid fire is this. In the book, Mike Murdock says, as we begin to document our desires, we may recognize some things that never change. And says it that way. Some things never change about you. And so I want to do a rapid fire. And the rapid fire is we're going to start with Ingrid. We're going to do Roll, Simone, and then myself. And I want you to tell me one thing as you were reading and you went through a reflection. Tell me in one quick phrase, one thing you recognize that has not changed and it works well for you. Okay, I need some Jeopardy music here.
I think in reading this chapter, that was my favorite. So you know me, I made my list.
Yeah. Oh wow.
But yes. I'm going to share the very first thing on my list, which is very dear to me, and it's my openness. I wear my heart on my sleeve, and sometimes it works against me, and sometimes it works for me. But I take that what I would consider against me because I'm a highly emotional person, and as Elena says, you are a social advocate. I am there for all the social issues. Although what I want to do is for women, but it is across the border, men, children, teenagers. I'm a magnet for teenagers. Yeah. So my emotion, my ability, but I could control my emotions. And a lot of people tell me, well, you mustn't wear your sleeve, your heart on your sleeve, you get your heart broken and stuff. But what I have learned to do is take all of that, the weaker part of me, the negative parts of me, and just make it go boom and work for me. And in that way, that is how I genuinely am able to help other people.
I love that. And even as we're sharing, if it is you're looking live and you want to jump into the conversation, you can put in the comment section what is the one thing, even as you think about it now, what is the one thing that you realize has remained true and has remained consistent in your life and it works well for you? Roel, what is your one thing?
Yeah, I found that for me, it's a care for people. I genuinely just love people. I love connecting with people. I love hearing their stories. I love seeing individuals move from one step, develop in their lives. It's there's a saying that says people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. I would say that if there was anything else that would be my superpower, it would be that. I love caring for people, and it's something that excites me and passionate about, and I could stay up all night doing. So that would be it.
Yeah. Simone, what about you? What's your one thing?
Serving, serving.
Mm.
Yeah. And I would have gotten that from my parents, that element of care and consideration. So even as I'm at work, even in church ministry, what's very big for me is that what I'm doing is serving others. And that helps me to be able to deliver best.
Right. And for me, I would say just being determined. I catch on to an idea, I decide I'm gonna get it done, and that's just what it is. I get it done. And there is no lack, limit, limitation, or obstacle that is going to keep me from making happen the thing that I said is going to make happen. So thank you guys for participating in the rapid fire. We have openness, we have caring, we have, oh my gosh, Simone, yours just went
Serving,
clear from my mind.
serving.
Serving, thank you.
Yes,
So you have a lot
yeah.
of humble people on this panel just with a heart for others. And even before we continue with
Annalena,
our conversation, yes.
Yeah, I just wanted to say I could vouch for your level of determination. It stands out, and you do it with joy, so
Ah,
excellent. Do keep it up. Yeah.
you know what it is? And I'll say it really for the benefit of those who might listen, that I remember years ago, when you go to those career days in secondary school, for some reason it stood out to me that one of the presenters says, imagine you're going to do this thing for the next 40 years of your life. Make sure you choose something that you're going to enjoy. And I really took that to heart. And so
Mm,
along the journey, I have been very mindful to to position myself even from a place of work and career and professional development, to position myself to do the things that are going to bring me joy and satisfaction, because I have a lot of years to put into doing this thing. And even
agreed.
just to make reflection, because if I'm not mistaken, most of you participated in the book club where we did the big leap. And in the reading with the big leap, we would have learned that to move from the place of your zone of competence to your zone of genius, a large part of that is positioning to do the thing that you're passionate about deep in your heart, and knowing what to say yes to and knowing what to say
Yes.
no to. And I love that in reading the Zone of Genius with Gay Hendricks, I believe is the author. And so yeah, that's why I do it with joy, because I actually love what I do. But even as we continue, guys, I want to get back into the conversation, and Mommy Ingrid, you end up on screen first, so I'm gonna jump off with you. The Continuing on in the reading, Mike Murdock talked about, he asked the question, what is your invisible dream that you're subconsciously trying to birth within your life? And my question to you is, you don't have to tell me what your invisible dream is, but do you believe you have identified that invisible dream? Mommy Ingrid. Oh, sorry, your mic is
No, that's
mute.
okay.
Okay, we're good now.
It's okay.
Yes.
Yes, it took me a very long time, but I have. And similarly, like
Yeah.
Simone, and I can share. Similarly, like Simone, my own is all my. It's not. It's no longer an invisible dream. Actually, it was an invisible dream, but it is in is in the church. It's in the parish life. I'm Roman Catholic, so I'm in my parish life, and it's in ministry. I have recently become a catechist, which is in our RCIA, an adult program, and I have spread my wings so much. But it took me a very long time because I knew there was a calling, and when you're in church ministry, there's a calling, and some people have it clear, and it took me a long time. It took me a couple of detours before the Holy Spirit gets me back and jolts me back. And so it's no longer invisible, but for a very, very long time in my life it was invisible.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
And Roll, I want to ask you, as an impact strategist, what are your thoughts regarding like what a person can do to move from a place of having that identifying and having that invisible dream to being able to step into it?
Wow, that's a big one.
I know, right?
Quite a number of parts, you know. So one one of the things that's mentioned here quite often is the whole idea of moving from your headspace to writing, right? And for me, that's a big part of it. So you have these dreams and you have these goals. As you begin to put these things down, and there's a very interesting scripture that talks about write the vision and make it plain, so he that reads it can run with it. As you begin to put your plans on paper, other questions come up. Questions come up related to sequencing. Should I do what's first? What should come second? What should come third? What should be a priority? Should I make, if I'm going, if for example I want to become more fit, where should I place the priority? Is it in my diet? Is it in the exercise? Is it in sleeping? When you begin to put these things down on paper, you begin to have a number of thoughts that to make sense, you have to prioritize and you have to put steps. All right. On the way to doing so, you will discover that you may need some more research. So it means you have to read. You have to connect with people that have gone, who have done it before. You understand? And for example, this is where coaching and mentoring comes in. All right. Sometimes along the way, you can get weary, so you need inspiration. All right. For me, I draw inspiration, from my God. You understand? There are many times along the journey, and this is part of the reason why a lot of people give up on their dreams. Some people have big goals, but because it seems so unattainable, they give up on it. So I think another place to find is, where do you get that inspiration? Some people find it in their children, some find it in nature. Wherever you find it, you need to find that place of inspiration to keep you going and keep you going. Another big part of it for me would be teaming, the persons that connect with you. I think you have to make some assessment of the individuals around you, the people. A lot of people can be in your life and not necessarily add, they may take away. And you have to make a hard assessment, because these are all the things that help to contribute towards going towards those goals. So those are some of the things that I would put there. Ultimately, we are talking about developing a system. Everyone needs a system, all right, which is a set of repeatable steps that takes you towards that particular goal. So my question for everyone to consider is, what is your system? All right, what are you doing? What are you repeating over and over again? If you realize you're getting certain results, it means that you have a particular system that you're working well, but that system is working well against you. So you need to sit down and think about, what is my system? How does my system work? I think that's a big part of working out your methodology for success.
I love it. Thank you. And Simone, I want to ask you, looking at the same thing, how can people be able to now take what they're identifying as that invisible dream and be ignited and passionate about it? How did they translate that dream into this ignited passion that they could live out? Do you have any thoughts to share on that?
Yes. Let me go back to being decisive. It's a process. As much as I wanted to come out of a situation that I wasn't comfortable with, it took a process. And within that process, I kept immersing myself into areas and spaces that I saw as solutions. So, one of the things to start with is your self talk. What are you saying to yourself? After you write that vision down, what are you saying to yourself? Because writing it is one thing, right? But to get that within you, that aha moment where it's beyond the writing on the paper, you need to immerse yourself. And immersion means reading about it, it means talking about it, it means surrounding yourself with like-minded people. Like Ingrid girl, my own took about 40 years. 40 years of me saying, God, what is my uncommon dream? What is my thing? Because I was driven by service, and with service, you find anything I'm doing, I'm giving it my best, my best, my best. So I had a lot of bests going, but I still didn't feel I knew exactly, what, this is it for me. And as I kept talking to God and saying, Lord, what is it for me? What is my unique gift? And then when it was revealed to me, sometimes you think, that's the gift? Because it might come so natural. But when I listen to people around me who I interact with, tell me, oh gosh, Simone, the way you say things, you really have a way of encouraging people and making something plain if I'm teaching. So you find that it unfolded because I'm thinking about it, because I'm immersed in it, and because I make up my mind to go after it. And then what I did, like Roll spoke about a coach, Ingrid spoke about reaching out to you. I have this really cool girlfriend, Layla, and I said, Layla, I want to start this workshop because I really felt this pulsing within my spirit. So what do you do now? So I reached out to her as someone who I know I can trust with this dream I have, because sometimes not everyone would understand to be able to add value to your dream. And she was able to tell me, okay, similar to what you would have told Ingrid, write down what it is you want to accomplish. What is the objective? And then she helped me to work out a blueprint as to how I would deliver this. So I would say immersing yourself in what you want to achieve and associating yourself with things that would help you to realize that solution. And of course, a coach really helps as someone who's on the outside, who's looking in at what you're doing, to add some objective perspective on it once you get a quality coach.
I love that. And even before we move on, I want to take a minute and just acknowledge one or 2 points made in the comment section where Denise shared with us the importance of speaking things into being. And of course, even as we talk about speaking things into being, I want to remind those viewing that Vision Works launched on Sunday, their Vision Sunday. And I'm sure Roll is going to tell you more about it later on. But their Vision Sunday, where they have their podcast sharing affirmations to help us to be able to speak things into being and be able to acknowledge those little nuggets that we can use when we want to encourage ourselves and we want to just shift the atmosphere around us to align with what's in our heart. And of course, we have Paula shared that she has identified the invisible dream, now beginning to give it shape. But having identified it brings me so much more joy that I can't wait to see what's in store. And congratulations to you, Paula, that you're really taking on and you've been able to identify that invisible dream. And, I'm so motivated as well to hear Mommy Ingrid as she boldly declared, well, the dream not invisible anymore because I'm doing it, I'm living it. And that's what it's all about. And I'm so excited to be in this book, The Uncommon Achiever, because it means that it's going going to be taking us down a path for us as we read and even as we share our thoughts with the viewing audience to be able to share our understanding as to how we're going to be stepping into that uncommon thing and getting into that place of achievement. But before we wrap up, I want to take a moment, guys, and give you a chance to share what active projects you have going on, that as we think about dreams being ignited, having vision and putting it together towards achieving that goal, that our persons can follow you and learn more about and become a part. So Simone, you're at the top of my screen. So let me start with you. What can people look forward from you and where can they find you online?
Great. So right now I'm focusing on igniting people's focus for what they want to achieve for the week ahead. And like we've just heard from Mike Murdock's book, it's about being decisive. It's about being intentional. A lot of times, once you start out with, this is the direction that I'm going in, what will you do? You're going to point yourself in that direction. And once you put action to it, you're going to go in that direction. So on LinkedIn, every Monday, I have Ignite Your Monday. Why Ignite Your Monday? Because you want to stay ignited for the rest of the week. We know so many different things can happen during the week, but once you anchor yourself, you have that focus, then the sky's the limit. You get to Friday ignited and you have an even more enjoyable weekend.
I love that. Thank you, Simone. Ingrid, what about you? Can you share maybe what you're doing through Pulse of Hope or any other initiative that you have going on that people can benefit and or where they can follow you online?
Sure. Well, Pearls of Hope, as I expressed before, it really is a forum, a haven for women. Now, as I said before, I consider myself to be an advocate for social issues, right? And I also said before, I'm a person who likes to think and dream. And because of my love of thinking and dreaming, this is where Pearls of Hope was born. It is a God, first of all, most importantly, because of all the blessings in my life, God is the center of me and He is my strength. So therefore, Pearls of Hope is a God-centered forum where women empower and lift each other up in hope and in faith. And by saying that, it kind of covers everything that women may go through on a daily basis, from being a wife, a mother, being a professional, a career woman, and just having all the everyday, because sometimes what I have in my own experience and in my family and with close friends, I don't know if it's a Caribbean culture. I could only say Caribbean. I'm a Caribbean woman. That from a very young age, women, we are trained, we are molded to be the caregiver, to take care of everything, the family, the house, and everything that goes right and wrong. So in doing that, sometimes we lose ourselves and we don't take care of ourselves because we're always busy taking care of everything else, making sure everything is running good, being perfect. And we end up, when we crack, we don't crack. Women don't crack. Women go, we bruise, we break, we fracture, right? And sometimes when you're doing these things on your own, when you're trying to do everything on your own, it's difficult. So, it's a forum where women come together. And I said, we embrace each other, we empower each other. It's a place it's a sanctuary. That old saying, what happened in Rio stays in Rio, what happened in the party stay in the party, right? So it's a place where you find comfort. It's a place where, and before I wrap up, there's one thing I need to share though, is something that Elena, and I think it's important for me to share. It's something that Elena encouraged again, because Pearls of Hope wasn't really supposed to be what we're starting it off to be. My dream is it was like a cafe, kind of a walk-in something. So, you're walking down the road, as I was telling her, you have your kids have the Saturday gymnastics something, and you have where you live, it's not feasible to go home for 2 hours and come back, but you don't know what to do. So you can walk into me You can read a book. If you need somebody to talk to, a little bit of counseling. It don't always have to be spiritual counseling. Just somebody to say, I understand. Let me hold your hand. It was a physical place. And then COVID happened. And I just say, oh God, this thing has to shut down for a little while. And I shared it with her, and she says, no, why does it have to shut down? So she explained to me. She said, listen, when I started this, doing this here. I didn't have a building. And Ingrid, why wait? Start your little thing. Use social media. I will help you if you don't know. Use the technology. I'm not too much of a techie person, so I have a lot to learn. But here I am today on the 1st of July 2021. I am talking about Pearl of Hope. So it's just to say, sometimes we have a dream and we're looking for it to go this way and it's not working out. God is just simply saying, hey, that's not the way I have the plan. I have planned it for you. Let's try somewhere else.
Yes, definitely. Thank you so
Yeah.
much for sharing that role. What do you have going on that people can benefit from, and how can they follow you?
Yes, you can get me on Facebook at Vision Work Solutions. And what we'll be focusing on, we have Vision Sundays coming up. We launched last Sunday, and every Sunday coming up now, we are going to be presenting affirmations and affirmation series. Earlier, I spoke about the importance of having systems. And if you look at life, there are a lot of systems built into life that make life what it is. And one of those systems, these systems often come in cycles. There's a cycle of birth and death. There is the rain falling, there's the sun, the revolution of the earth. All these things happen in cycles. Success also has its cycles. And the cycle works something like this. There's a belief system that we have. There's an action that we take based upon the belief that we have. There's a result that comes from the actions that we take. What happens is that result then reinforces and reinforms that belief system. So if we have a limited belief, we take limited action. With limited action, we get limited results. Limited results, we say, you see, that didn't work. So we enter into a downward spiral. So how do we break this cycle? It has to do with your self-talk. What do you say to yourself every day when you get up in the morning, when you're faced with challenges? So the affirmation series, it's a positive affirmations that we are going to be putting into the podcast that you can repeat daily to improve your self-talk, to come about with greater success, greater inspiration, a greater drive, and greater commitment. So look out for us. We're on Facebook. You're going to hear lots more about this affirmation series as you improve your self-talk and improve the results in your life.
Love that. And of course, I want to encourage people to keep in mind that you can follow me on Facebook using the search bar Excellence Journal. 2021 was that year when, given the pandemic and all that has been going on, I finally launched my first book, The Excellence Journal, Student Study Journal for Self-Directed Learning. And what that simply means is that in this season, I'm taking a lot of time to focus on the academic development of students, children, and teens, as well as empowering parents through what is called the Excellence in Parenting Developmental Program. And all it means is that parents, just as you take time to make sure your kids get the support that they need, I am here to hold your hand to make sure you get the support that you need. And especially now more than ever, when students are learning from home, I know so many moms and dads are challenged in their ability to understand how they could direct learning and enhance revision and study time from home. And the Excellence in Parenting program does just that. And of course, we also have our Excellent in Study Skills, which is starting next week. So I want to encourage you to visit us on Facebook. Simply look up the Excellence Journal. Make sure you like that page. Click the notification bell so you'd see when new videos drop. Because I'm going to be taking time during the month of July to share with you guys through video practical steps that you can take at home as we get ready for September. Because whether our kids are learning from home or they're learning from their physical brick and mortar schools, guess what? When we are intentional and we are determined to ensure our children thrive, we will do whatever is necessary to make sure learning continues. And it's an awesome, positive experience for our kids. So I want to encourage you to check that out. So, guys, we're wrapping up. We're at the end, almost to the end. And I want to encourage us, let's get into some closing thoughts. Simone, you're at the top of my screen, so I'm going to start with you. What closing thoughts do you have to share regarding your reading from chapter 1?
You know, when I first thought about the title of the book, The Uncommon Achiever, right there and then, the book is telling you that it's separated the person who is this uncommon achiever. Uncommon, meaning that there's something unusual or different. And for a lot of us, we tend to want a point of reference. So if something has not been done before, we might be hesitant to go after it. And this is exactly why Mike Murdock would have started by saying, be decisive, be intentional, be focused. And I'm saying that it's a process. Just like he said also, find the seed, nurture it, develop it. And while you're doing that, he also quoted James, the book of James, where he said, you know, when you have to achieve something, especially when it's an uncommon achievement, you have to move in faith with nothing wavering. And that alone might throw us off. Because what happens is we start off good and we start off with our faith. But there's a point in time that sometimes we may reach a juncture or a point on this journey where it seems intimidating, it seems hard, it seems like, oh my gosh, no, I can't do that. But we approach the uncommon dream and we are uncommon achievers with that element of faith. Faith in God, knowing that He has created each of us with a distinct purpose. If we consider things that are uncommon about us, no two of us have the same fingerprints, even twins. And similarly, what we have to achieve is uncommon for us. You have different people who might be cooks, but a cook might have a certain specialty or a certain area that they are gifted at achieving. So if yours seems unusual or uncommon, just like the book of James said, don't doubt, don't waver, think on it. Feed that seed, meditate on it. Talk to persons who may have achieved unusual things as well. Read about them. And then you set your eyes on that target and keep working towards it.
Yeah. Thank you, Simone. Mommy Ingrid, what closing thoughts do you have to share based on chapter 1?
Well, one of my favorite quotes would be, decisiveness is magnetic. The energy that comes from, knowing what you were about. He went further on, he gave that example of being in a restaurant. And it happens all the time, right? Now, I am that person who would walk into the restaurant. I may not know exactly where I want to sit, but I know I'm going into this restaurant for this reason. Maybe it's because I like the food, maybe because it's fantastic. And I go in and I know exactly what I want to order. And the strange thing is, when I was reading that part of it, I giggled a bit because I have that tendency to look around and observe. And you would see the people procrastinate, and then you would see the anxiousness in the waiters or the waitresses, and they would leave and they would exit. But when you go and you really do sit and you will say, I would like to get, the chicken Alfredo and with some extra Parmesan, and they're like, sure, and you get a little more from them. And I believe it's the positive energy that comes from being decisive that will draw people to you. And the other thing is, do not despair. Sometimes we have so much, we have these big dreams, and we may be planning one way, but as I said, God's plan is different. And as Simone says, we are all here with an original, a genuine. We are all crafted individually by God's hands. He has a purpose for us, and God speaks to us in so many different ways. The thing about human being is that we are very impatient people, extremely impatient. So like I was telling my kids the other day, I said, think about it. God has created so many billions of people. He has to listen to everybody, and he has to make a decision for everybody's best interest. Now, sometimes God's best interest for us is not what we want to hear or what we want at all. But in order for you to know exactly what God wants from you and or is expecting you, you have to listen, because it's a conversation with God. Prayer is a conversation with God. A conversation is a two-way thing. So you come and you say, Lord, this is what I want. This is what I have dreaming about. I'm not getting it. I'm not achieving it. But we don't take the time to listen to what God is saying to us, because it's right there. And he speaks to us in so many different ways. So just pay, as I say, God is my center, and just pay a little attention. So when you pray, have a little patience. Give him a few seconds to let him think about it, because sometimes he have to say, I wonder if you're ready for this, boy. I didn't think you're ready for this, in this week. But be patient, don't be despaired. Put your trust, your faith in God, the center. God must always be the center of everything you do. If God is not in the center, everything will fall apart. Once God is in the center, you're good to go.
Thank you, Ingrid. Aurora, what closing thoughts do you have to share?
The one word is intentionality. And in this particular chapter, being intentional in 3 areas, be intentional about your reflection, deep reflection, very important. Reflect upon what is important to you. Or plenty times we take or mark from things around us, things that are important to other persons, and we think therefore it should be important to me. I had a client once who, after trying to work in business for a long time, he was frustrated. He realized that this was not for me, and he made another career choice, and he is extremely happy now. But he was doing it because he felt this is what being a man was about. He was trying to please someone else. So in that way, also be intentional about what excites you. All right. And where you draw your energy. Think about those things that sap your energy. Even if you have to sit down and make a note. Sometimes some people might be on that list, but think about those things that sap your energy and draw to those things that ignite, according to Simone, ignite your fire, ignite your week. Understand that we all have limitless potential. And I know I'm talking to someone out there. You have limitless potential, but we all need a jump start. And I want to encourage them that a good jump start is right here every day from 8 o'clock on our book club conversation. So that's my last word. Be with us as we ignite our fires, as we connect together, and we create this whole revolution of change and impact in Trinidad and Tobago.
Thank you so much, Roel. And even as we close this conversation, I really want to remind those hearing live and those who would look in the replay to keep in mind that, as Mike Murdock has shown us, one of the keys to being able to say, I want to pursue that uncommon dream and to become that uncommon achiever is simple. We have to be able to distinguish between what matters and what does not. And that is a loaded question that requires much reflection, research, categorization, all the great things that we spoke about tonight. So I really want to encourage us. Listen, if you get to the end of this video, save the link, and tomorrow morning, not in the evening, because we're coming with a new chapter tomorrow evening, right? Tomorrow morning, take a look at it again, because there's so much to chew on, so much to pull from that we chatted about today. So guys, of course, my name is Alina, and I really want to appreciate Simone, Ingrid, and Roel for being here. Of course, different evenings, we're going to have some new people popping in, so be sure to stay tuned. We're here every day for 31 days during the month of July, chatting about the path to becoming that uncommon achiever. So until tomorrow, have a great night. Stay safe. God bless, and stay motivated to achieve that goal. Have a great evening, everyone.